Hi guys, welcome back to another Three Amigos video. Today we have something really impromptu but also something really exciting. In my hands today, I have a hands-on test of the Elcan 66mm f2 lens. Now this is an extremely rare lens. For those who don't know, Elcan stands for Ernest Lies Canada, and this lens was actually commissioned by the US Army to produce what we believe to be military-grade spy lenses that was used to be paired with the KE-7A, which is a military-grade inspired version of the M4. And basically what they used this lens for was spy missions, basically. And it's said to believe that this lens was used in the Cold War by the US military for military-related things. So what's cool about this lens is the 66mm f2, and what's characteristic about it is that it's a very sharp lens with very high resolution. Obviously, if you're creating a lens for the military, things like character, softness, and things are not something that would be really acceptable in those terms. Now, this lens is extremely rare and extremely valuable. I actually don't find any YouTube videos about this lens when I was doing my research for it. And we're very lucky that Jason from LSK Camera actually lent this lens for us to shoot. We only have about 20-30 minutes or so to shoot, and the light's sort of fading, so I have it paired on the M11 monochrome as well as the M10P just to see what kind of sample shots we can get and to see what makes this lens so expensive. Now, this lens is believed to cost upwards of 60 or 70,000 US dollars because obviously it's a collector piece. Now, this lens, it's believed that around 200 of these lenses were made. However, a lot of them were actually destroyed from the war, and none of them were actually sold to civilians. So the only way that you can get your hands on to these lenses was either through military use from before or buying through military personnel. So according to what some of my Leica traders have said, they've only seen 2 or 3 of these lenses in the past 20 or 30 years. So again, an extremely rare lens and extremely valuable opportunity for us to be able to try this lens. Now, to take note while shooting this lens, some things I'll find out immediately just now was that, for example, the size I would say is quite similar to, for example, a 50mm Summilux, but the weird thing is that there's not the correct frame lines for 66mm. So shooting with this lens without a VisaFlex is quite difficult, and I'm trying to have to imagine my frames while shooting. But otherwise, I'm interested to see how this lens will perform on the M11 monochrome sensor as well as the M10P, and we'll have a little bit of a look in the sample pictures later on Lightroom. So we don't have much time, so let's go take some photos.
So let's talk a little bit about the specification of the lens. This lens was made from 9 aperture blades and featured a close focusing distance of 1 meter. Now, besides the Leica Elcan 66mm f2, Leica Elcan also created the Elcan 50mm f2 and the Elcan 19mm f1. They also produce 3 ultra-high resolution R lenses, including the Elcan R 75mm f2, the Elcan R 180mm 3.4, and the Elcan R 450 f5.6. Now, this lens was designed by the famous Walter Mandela himself, and which is what also cements such a legendary status for this lens. Now, look at the photos overall. I'm extremely impressed by the quality of the lens. It feels extremely well balanced in the hand, and the aperture blades click very smoothly, and the focusing ring was also very smooth as well. In terms of image quality, it has great center sharpness and low fall-off. The bokeh is very smooth and easily manageable. Remember that this lens was built in the 1960s and 1970s, so this definitely feels like a Leica APO of the olden days. Now, the amount of detail you can capture is incredible. The color is extremely well balanced and not oversaturated, and there's also minimal chromatic aberration. Now, I did get the chance to test the flare control of this lens, but I imagine that it would fare quite well as well. Now, as the night began to creep in, I switched to the M11 monochrome to test this lens and see how it would perform. Again, I was absolutely blown away by this lens. The level of detail and resolution you can see even at high ISO levels is incredible. I don't expect any of my vintage lenses to shoot at this level of sharpness, and even on a modern day 60 megapixel sensor, this lens had no problem at all. Now, for example, let's take a look at this shot here on the M11M, which was shot wide open at f2, ISO 160, 1/125th shutter speed. Now, if we focus on Judo's eye, we can look at the level of detail. You can see each individual hair and the sweat on his lips and even the pores on his face. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this short but sweet hands-on review of this ultra rare Leica Elcan lens. Big shout out to Jason once again for lending and trusting us with this lens. To be honest, I don't know how many of these I will see in my lifetime. Now, if only I had more time, I would have definitely loved to have tested this lens on a film body just to see how this resolution translates into film photos, because as a spy camera, that's how they had to shoot the photos back in the day. Now, looking at the sharpness and the build quality of this lens, it's such a good reminder of the amazing legacy and the history, as well as the incredible workmanship behind the Leica lens and the brand, and as to why they are so popular nowadays. And undoubtedly, this is one of the things that really draws people towards the Leica brand. Now, guys, let me know what you think about this lens, the photos that you see, and if you guys have any knowledge about this lens because of what's so limited on the internet, please do share down below. And if you guys are interested in seeing more content, please don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe, because it really helps the channel. And until next time, I will see you soon.